Okay, to quickly go over the last 3 questions. The mode of the Candy condition. So for these types of questions, it'll be important to remember some basic statistical measures of central tendency, so mean, median, and mode. For the mode, I'm just going to write this in for the sake of learning, but you don't have to put this in your response. The mode is the most frequent number, or the most frequent result. So looking at the Candy condition, let's take a second to interpret this table. We can see there were 10 children in total that were followed around the grocery store. And we can see, for example, child 1 showed 3 instances of misbehavior. Child 2 showed 2 instances of misbehavior. And we're going to be looking at the results, the numbers of misbehaviors, and see what the most frequent result is, the most frequent number of misbehaviors. So I have 3 3s, 1 2, 1 8, 2 4s, 1 1, and 1 0. Okay, so the most frequent number to show up is the 3. So the mode would be 3 instances of misbehavior. The mode and the condition is 3. Okay, and then the next would be a measure of variation or range. So that's the difference between the lowest number and the highest number, the difference between the minimum and the maximum. Let me again type this out. You don't have to include this in your answer. This is just because I'm explaining it. Difference between, actually let's just write it as a mathematical equation. So we'll do, it's going to be the maximum subtracted by the minimum, or that difference between the minimum and the maximum. Okay, so what is the maximum, and this is for the no candy condition, so I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right table. This is like an easy thing to mess up on if I'm going quickly through a free response. So I'm just going to be careful. Okay, so no candy condition, the difference between the maximum and the minimum. So the maximum number of misbehaviors was 4, and the minimum number is 0. So what's the difference between 4 and 0? 4 minus 0 would be 4. And I'll just put that in parentheses too. So in this case, it's the maximum 4 minus the minimum of 0, which gives me the range of 4. Okay, last question. Authoritative parenting styles could affect the child's behavior by, okay, so it's like a sentence frame I set up for myself. I'm going to quickly remind myself what is an authoritative parenting style. This is a little bit tricky. I'll show you why. I'm going to open up Iceland's reading guide and let's quickly search. I think it's in module 51. The parenting styles. Okay, so according to Baumrind, there are 3 types of parenting styles: authoritarian, permissive, and authoritative. So I remember I used to always mix up authoritative and authoritarian, so I'm going to remind myself what the difference is, because they actually are different words, although they look very similar. Okay, so authoritarian is when parents impose rules and expect obedience, and the common refrain, I like how she put this in her reading guide, would be, because I said so. So if your child, brush your teeth, why? Because I said so. That would be an authoritarian parenting style, where it's like, because I'm the parent, I'm the authority, and you have to do what I say just because I say it. So that would be one parenting style. Then there's permissive, which is permissive, giving a lot of permission. When parents submit to their children's desires, they're the opposite of authoritarians. They don't make very many demands and they don't really use punishment. And then there's this third, this is like kind of the middle ground, is how I like to think of it, which is authoritative. So parents are both demanding and responsive. They set and enforce rules, but explain reasoning. So that is the key difference, is a parent who's authoritative would set rules. So they would be like, okay, you have to brush your teeth, but they would explain the reasoning behind the rule. So they would take the time to explain to their child, if you don't brush your teeth, you'll get cavities. Whatever else, other reason they have for why you have to brush your teeth, they would explain to their child. So you can take a moment and just think about which one of these categories do your parents fall in? Which one do you think you want to use, like as an older sibling or as a parent one day? So yeah, that's just a little reminder of the difference between authoritarian and authoritative. So this question is asking us about authoritative, which key thing here is going to be that this parent is going to set and enforce rules, but explain the reasoning. And how am I going to get this across in my response? Okay, so I think I'm actually going to reword this. I'm going to say, how could authoritative parenting styles affect children's behavior in the supermarket? Children with parents who use the authoritative parenting style, not authoritarian, but authoritative, just to make it confusing, who use the authoritative parenting style might be, this is just me guessing, might be less likely to misbehave because their parents set firm rules and explain the reasoning behind those rules. Those children might be better behaved. And you could maybe compare that with like a permissive parenting style and think about how maybe children who with parents who are more permissive might behave differently in the supermarket. You could also argue the opposite here. There's not one right answer. The key thing that the AP scores would be looking for is just that you clearly know what an authoritative parenting style is, and you're using it to support your answer. So you know that authoritative parenting means that you set rules and you explain the reason behind the rules to your children. Okay.